Welcome to Season 4 of Everything is Learning. This season, we're celebrating neurodivergent people, their stories, strengths, challenges, and the powerful ways they learn and live. Because honoring every individual's brain and lived experience makes the world a better place for everybody. We're excited you're here. Let's dive in.
This season, we're chatting about and with neurodiverse individuals, including topics about the way our minds, bodies, and environments shape how we live, learn, and care for ourselves. Today's guest, Annika Angelo, brings a fresh and evidence-informed perspective to a topic that often feels overwhelming: food and ADHD. Anika is a nutritionist and the creator behind at the NutriMind Lab, where she's carving out space for ADHD-friendly nutrition that's practical, research-based, and rooted in self-compassion. With a clear-eyed view of both the science and struggle, Anika helps people untangle nutrition myths, understand the ADHD brain's relationship with eating, and build sustainable habits without shame. Amen.
Yes.
A multi-passionate neurodivergent herself, Anika knows the mental tug-of-war between chasing ideas and completing tasks, and she brings that lived experience into the way she supports her audience, whether she's breaking down the science of dopamine and snacking or offering simple strategies to make meals less stressful. Hallelujah. Anika's work is all about making food feel possible again. Welcome, Anika Angelo, and thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Always happy to talk about my hyperfixation. So
it's one that I really care about because I am such a foodie.
Such a
so food motivated.
Yes. And learning. We love learning here. So we love learning from
that makes sense with the name.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you tell?
We're kind of fans. But we usually start with an icebreaker question. So my question for you is, what is your ideal breakfast when you actually have time to eat it?
Honestly, the actually have time to eat it is the best part of this question because, gosh, I remember when I was working like more of an actual job instead of I can have flexibility job. Oh, breakfast, hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
So, okay, what would I love to eat for breakfast? Okay, I love bacon. Gotta be honest. I love pancakes, bacon, probably some hash browns. Is this going to be the best breakfast for our ADHD? No. But does it taste good? Yes.
Well, okay. So what would your ideal breakfast be for ADHD?
I mean, honestly, the breakfast that is actually consumed is the best, obviously. But if we're talking about macronutrients, anything with fiber and protein, if we could have like half of your plate be fiber, half of your plate be protein in the morning. So think some Greek yogurt with a lot of berries and some chia seeds or something. That would be a really good breakfast.
Anika, I feel like there should be some kind of an app that you create where it's like you can ask you a question and be like, is this good for my ADHD? And it could just be you, and it would be like a version of you where you're like, yes, or maybe let's try this.
I love that. That is actually kind of what I do. So I have a Patreon, and that's the only place that people can actually DM me questions and I answer them. Because it's so overwhelming, right? Because I get so many DMs and I just don't have the ability to talk to everybody. So I figured that's the easiest way. And then they also get a free ebook for me every month and early content access. But I think that's the most fun because then they can ask me like, is this okay to eat?
Yeah.
Usually my answer is yes. Like if you aren't eating anything, I'd rather you eat that. But then we can dive into like the nutritional content and how is this affecting my ADHD?
You know what I love is that you keep circling back to like people say fed is best, right? But I feel like there's this angsty feeling towards it or negative feeling towards it. But I really love that you said consumed. So I feel like consumed food is best does not feel as, I don't know, stringent or like hardcore as fed is best. Because fed, I think, also implies like you are force feeding someone, whereas consumed is like they are actively choosing and have choice in it too. So I want to reframe that. And Marissa, I know that, you know, my nephew, your son, is autistic. What do you think about the differences between those two phrases? Are they synonyms? Are they exactly the same? Am I just thinking about it and dreaming?
I think that that's a really astute point because for me, I guess I love the nuance there because you're right. Consumed is really the best. Like I could try put food out that I hope he'll eat, but he might not eat it.
Right.
But I think that the notion of fed is best, or consume in this case, consumed is best. You're right. There is like this implication of, okay, this is what you're going to. I'm feeding you.
Right.
Only this.
Like it's
Whereas
force.
consumed, they choose. There's like the notion of actual digestion and that it went in a mouth is really helpful there. So,
I love that, Annika. Thank you. That's going to be one of my big takeaways today. I just know it.
I love that. So your kid, does he have ARFID?
No, actually. So, no, he does not, or it's undiagnosed. It's so interesting because he'll eat hot and cold. He'll eat crunchy and soft. He'll eat warm things too. And I can't really tell a texture thing. And what's interesting is he'll eat parts of the pizza, but not other parts. And he'll start putting food in his mouth and then he'll get like bored and throw it away. And then he'll pick up a piece and throw it, but then the next piece is fine. And they look the same to me. And I really can't quite do it. And he's really a snacker, like more than an eater. So he has a plethora of snack foods. It's just what I think traditional nutrition would constitute as a breakfast food, a lunch food / dinner food. There's not a ton of those. And we tend to lose more of those and gain more snacks. And honestly, that's where I've sort of lived off of this notion of fed is best. But now I'm going to use consumed as best because ultimately I still do put food on his plate and still hope that he'll eat it. And largely he eats some of it, but not all of it. So I will say the consumed is best, and it's generally giving into like his favorite things are fries. He probably eats fries 4 or 5 times a week, and Oreos every day. We have crackers, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely not so stringent because like I've met people or spoke with parents. Their child may only have 3 foods. No, we have like 30 or 35. It's just for every one food we lose, we don't gain one back. We gain like a condiment or a sweet. And I wish it was more nutritious, but he actually ate applesauce for the first time yesterday. So it really was.
Oh my gosh!
I know. Yeah, it was a big deal. I like over celebrated. I think I scared him.
I know. I kind of want to cry. That's such a huge thing.
It's so hard, right? Because like we don't want to like excite because then like maybe then they'll get that feedback, but like that's so exciting.
It's
so hard not to celebrate
himself. Right, he asked for it himself. We thought we were offering him all the unhealthy things that were like in front of it, and then we pulled out a pouch because it was in a pouch form. He didn't take it in a pouch. We ended up because we're trying to get him to also use like OT skills and use a spoon and scoop. But yeah, he ate a whole pouch, and I was so grateful.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
Nugget.
Wow.
But yeah, that's his like nickname since he's been little. But I know that my son, like he, a lot of times, especially around food, he's what I would indicate stubborn, but I don't know if stubborn's the right word because he knows what he likes.
Yeah, preference.
And at school, I don't know how it all goes, and it's something that I'm worried about. But kind of leads me into my first question, where I definitely know, even non-food related, my son has to mask, and like he comes home and he just wants to decompress. And so I'm curious, based on your experience, what has it been like for you masking and unmasking, and what does creating safer spaces for authenticity look like to you?
I mean, honestly, that was the whole thing with my rebrand, because the whole time I was creating content, it was not for myself. Like, and that is something I realized, and it was causing me so much stress that I didn't realize was causing me stress, because I'm not the good at figuring out when I'm stressed.
Okay.
Oh, fair. Oh, wow. That must have been a mind blow. It's blowing my mind right now. Because, yeah. Wow.
What does stress show up like for you?
That's always the question.
Okay.
So for me, what I've noticed is that stress comes with more food related things, which is great because that's, what I do. And so it comes with honestly anger toward food and not wanting to eat my food, having difficulty swallowing sometimes, or stomach issues where I feel like I'm really nauseous, or just like extrasensory sensitivities to food in general. And so when I notice those things creep up, then I can tell that, okay, maybe I'm a little stressed.
Yeah.
But I think that's the hard thing with masking, is that you don't even know sometimes, especially as females, that you're masking until it's too late. And then you have to try to take it off to create safety for your body. And like for some people, even taking that off is going to like make you have less safety. And so it's such a complicated idea.
I'm really grateful that because I know for some of the non-neurodivergent people, so like the neurotypical people, understanding why people mask and you linking that to safety and what feels safe. It's like largely it's protection, and then it's also helping other people be comfortable around you. Like you're trying to ease the discomfort of others. And I don't understand why that's difficult for people to understand why someone would need to do, but also largely the people who I think
need to
can
learn
empathize with that, have encountered discomfort or concern for safety around others. And the general demographic for that is women. And I will also offer that the people who I think struggle with understanding why people mask the most happen to be white men, because I don't think they've largely had to do that before in their lives. That said, I don't want to specifically call out that group in the sense that there are white men that I know that
do
my
understand.
son being one of them. Yep, he's white male and he has masked. So it's not the whole of the population, but generally people who I see, they're straight white males, like people who tend not to be the majority.
I think
less the minority.
The other piece that we're learning, Anika, from talking with other people. So Marissa and I both had a background in education, and I worked in special education for a long time. And we talk a lot about why people are late diagnosed with, whatever diagnosis that they have, but particularly females and autism. And a lot of that comes back to masking and the fact that, a parent will go to a CSE meeting or they'll try to start the process and they'll say, I know that you see this version of my child at school, but when they come home, you specifically, Anika, talked about a piece that I don't think everyone talks about with masking, which is that you can get very dysregulated once you know that you are masking and want to unmask safely, and that you can become unsafe in the unmasking process. And I think people think it's like a light switch. I think people hear masking and unmasking and they're like, oh, you just turn on the mask, turn off the mask. It's not like that. And
as much as it'd be nice if it was, it doesn't work that way.
Right. And I think the way that you described it was so helpful. And I do think educational institutions are really not understanding and not caring to understand and identify that masking is a huge piece of what neurodivergent people experience. And without understanding that, it's very hard to create an individualized education plan or a 504 plan that is actually personalized to the neurodivergent individual. And what an awful lack of support that creates for parents to say, you're not listening to me, you're not seeing my child, you're not understanding, you're not learning with us. And I think that the way that you just described it was brilliant. And I can't wait for all of our listeners to hear it. And I can't wait to spam my friends who are still in education with it so that they can tell their administrators and their CSE chairs, and it can change the world. So thank you for that.
I love that.
Well, what's also interesting to me is that you realize that masking or involve stress and masking coincide, and then how that impacts you is even through food. Has that always been the case?
Honestly, that is a really good question. I have an abysmal memory.
Okay.
It could be behind like trauma background, but it could also just be because ADHD, our memories are not usually the best. Wish that was different. But I'd say in general, when I was younger, I was better at masking. As I've gotten older, it's gotten harder, or maybe I'm just more aware of it. And then, it gets into that cycle of, well, now I want to be my more true self around people because I want to be accepted for who I am and what I think and how I act. But finding like those safe people to do it. And I'm so grateful that the people I've surrounded myself with nowadays, it is safe to do that. Like it's safe for me to just like, you can't, I don't know if anyone's watching, but like you can
stim.
Yes. Yes, that's the word.
Yeah. We love that kind of stuff. For us is really important. Marissa's son loves to stim, and honestly it's a joy to see that expression, because I don't know, for me it makes me feel alive to know that other people are doing that too. Like I was actually just like kind of doing the same thing, and I'm not neurodivergent, so I'm not trying to compare, but I do think that sensory output is so important, the input and the output. And when I see other people stim, it brings me joy. And I don't know if that's selfish or what that is, but it really does, because I think people who openly express themselves vulnerably, I think it's the truest form of living, right? Is just being truly and authentically yourself and learning to get there. And the fact that you're so honest, Anika, about the fact that you're still learning about yourself is so great. By the way, your new rebrand, you talk specifically about how your mental health was impacted, and you were like, I don't like social media. I don't have to do social media. And I was like, yes. Every single podcaster that we've had on has been like, I wish I didn't have to do social media. And we feel the same way. But the honesty and the boundaries that you posted, brilliant. Chef's kiss. Like, love. So that was
the fact
awesome.
that you posted about taking a break and and explaining exactly, like offering a window into, like a view into why, because there are people who generally care and probably were looking forward to your content and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I also appreciate that you talk so openly about your mental health. Not just that, but having POTS and ADHD. I'm curious how you navigate the multiple disabilities and share your knowledge with others, and then like still making sure you prioritize and personalize your life without burning out.
Okay, can I be honest here? The answer is my husband.
Oh, that's so great. I know. I love that you feature him in like your bios and stuff, and you talk about that so openly. That's so lovely.
Oh, he's my favorite person in the entire world. But seriously, having a person to help you self-regulate and who is so emotionally intelligent and can ask you the questions that you're afraid to even ask yourself. That's really the thing that gets me through any of this. Yeah. But like with ADHD and POTS specifically, though, as much as I would love to say that nutrition plays a big part, it does. It's more so the support systems that I have in place nowadays that actually helps with those. If I was alone, it would be a completely different story. Honestly, like,
how'd you two meet?
Oh, we actually met on a plane ride to Paris.
Wow!
Stop.
I know, isn't that so cute?
That is like the most romantic thing ever.
Yeah.
Were you going or coming back?
We were going.
So then did you guys hang out while you were there?
Yep.
So lovely.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
Did you take a honeymoon to there afterwards?
We did, yeah.
That's beautiful.
You have to.
You know, not that I don't want to read your books about ADHD and nutrition, but I want to read a book about your love story.
Yeah.
Like, now, given what you just said, that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Love him.
No,
Wow.
he's amazing, and we love him.
What does he do for like work and life?
He is an engineer, so
Okay,
very
cool.
stable person.
Well,
I recommend most people who are not stable to find an engineer.
I like that. I was just gonna say, I wish he could really do well by offering up the tips and things, suggestions for how best to support a loved one, because I think like that is an amazing thing that you speak so openly and highly about him, and that he's your support system. That's so beautiful.
Annika, is he analytical? Is that the piece?
100%.
Yeah. I married a chemical engineer. I'm a live wire. You may have noticed. And I think that he helps ground me. But I think one thing that my husband talks honestly about is like navigating EQ, like emotional intelligence. He's still working on that. And I love that he's like trying to actively learn about that. But the way that he can ground me, I get that. I feel that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Love that.
And that's really the thing that I've noticed throughout my last 6 years of school. As much as you want to have like those other basics support you, like food, exercise, how do you even do that if your nervous system isn't responding appropriately to it?
Yes. Yes, you have to get out of fight, flight, or freeze. You have to be able to get to a regulated state. And I think sometimes people are afraid to say that they need other people. I love that you're saying that. Like, it's good to have a support system. And your platform is about food. And you're like, but hold on a second. I also have these other systems in place. I don't know. I'm inspired. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
The goal is to have a person you can rely on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it really is. And I think a lot of people are like, start with yourself. I think a lot of people aren't honest to say part of learning is learning that, yes, you need to rely on yourself, but we learn better with community. We learn better with stability. And once we are regulated, we can learn more about ourselves because we know that we have a safe person. And I think that step is often overlooked. So I love that you're talking about that. I think that that's so helpful.
For sure. I have done a lot of research, and one of the things, in fact, one of the people who, I don't know if you've ever watched Love on the Spectrum, but there's a girl, Kaylin, and I follow her account.
I do know Kaylin, though, yes.
Okay, yeah, and so I bought her book, and she's coming out with another one, and I'm eager to read that. But she even posted, it was like a comment about Lady Gaga and this big, beautiful mansion and feeling lonely, and like loneliness, especially for neurodivergent individuals, is a really potent thing that people feel. And I know my son doesn't make great eye contact, but that doesn't mean he's not listening and or wanting to be around people. He will gravitate, like if I'm in a different room, he'll gravitate to that other room. He doesn't need to be by my side or with somebody 24/7, but like the reality is at some point in time he craves that attention, that desire, and it's nice to see. But I think people often feel like, oh, because if they're not making eye contact or if they're not doing things like in a traditional way, then that must mean that they're okay being independent. But the reality is it's a critical part of this, and the pandemic that just amplified it for people. I feel,
yeah,
especially if you were in a situation where the people that you had available to you in your little unit weren't always safe people.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, but we had talked a little bit about support systems and systems in general. If you could redesign a system, education, healthcare, work, community, to better support the full spectrum of how our brains work, what would it look like?
A healthcare that's accessible.
Amen to that.
That would be a big thing. I mean, honestly, I think, I don't know how many listeners are from the States, but if you are from the States, you you've probably heard about MAHA, like Make America Healthy Again.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea behind it is a great idea, like help people figure out how to be better versions of themselves through some systemic changes. The issue is that like these systemic changes that they're doing is making it worse.
Right. Less healthy.
So, right, like getting rid of food for people, like access.
SNAP. Yep.
SNAP or getting rid of access to healthcare.
Yeah.
And
that big beautiful bill is anything but beautiful.
Exactly. And it's actually heartbreaking because it is actively harming the community that we are all a part of. And when we don't support the lowest of us, the people who need the support, we're only as strong as the person who needs the most help.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, how can we say that we are a great nation if we don't even care about the people who need care?
Right.
So, yeah, I worked in disability for a little bit over 4 years. And it was already hard those years. I just can't imagine what it's going to be like nowadays. What I would change is for us to get back to the idea that running a country is not a business.
Oh, yes.
That's what I would change.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
That would change everything. Because if education is no longer a business, if food is no longer a business, if healthcare is no longer a business, if everything is not privatized business, then it would fix all of the issues to an extent.
You're right.
I feel like that's kind of going back to what you were talking about, Anika, is like, it's not a business. Democracy is not a business. Like our government is not a business. And people, if it's going to be a business, people are our business. Helping others is our business.
And the revenue should be their health, whether that's their mental health or their physical health, social health, any type of health.
Yep.
And financial health.
Sure. Yeah. We talk about in season 1 about how health is not just your body. Like it's not just your organs. It's your mental state, it's your emotional state, it's your physical state, it's your financial, it's everything. Like we need to be fiscally healthy, we need to be mentally healthy, we need to be emotionally healthy, but that requires a lot of learning, and it also requires systems to also acknowledge that. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm assuming y'all talked about the Wheel of Wellness maybe in that podcast.
You know what? We did not talk about the Wheel of Wellness. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I love the Wheel of Wellness.
Yeah.
Usually my friends and I, when we haven't talked to each other for a while, we'll pull up the Wheel of Wellness and we'll go through the 8 sections.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just a great conversation because then you just go through how has this area been? But it is exactly what you were saying. There's 8 dimensions of wellness or health, essentially. Physical, which is, your body, mental, spiritual, and environmental, financial. There's emotional. Yep. There's that one. And then there's 2 more. Social. And I'm drawing a blank on the last one.
Yeah, but you said financial. I was trying to think. You said environmental, spiritual,
physical. We'll have to post it.
Occupational. That's the last one.
Yes. Yep. Job. Yep. That's such an interesting piece. One of the other things that we talked about is the importance of community. We talk about that a lot. And I think what we've heard from listeners is sometimes it's really hard as an adult. Like when you're in school, you make friends because you're around people and you're making connections, and you're around them 8 hours a day. And then when you leave school, you're not. And there's this societal norm of don't make friends with your coworkers, keep those relationships at work. Which is a weird one.
It is a weird one. But yeah. Especially if you love what you do. I have friends everywhere I've worked.
And, so there's that piece of it too. And I think oftentimes what we've heard is people don't really know where to start with conversations. And I love that you just talked about the Wheel of Wellness being even just a check-in, but also a conversation starter. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it works the best if you have like two people who are both neurodivergent, because we tend to not, I don't know if this is studied or not, I just have noticed we tend to be more open about things like that.
Ooh.
I don't know if that makes sense, but like transparency, I feel a lot of people are like, we just like to blab.
Well, so that's so interesting, but I can actually appreciate what you're saying, because in my opinion, I think that there has been generally a stigma around mental health therapy, but maybe not other therapies. Like if you're injured, physical therapy after like a surgery or whatnot, it's just kind of expected. Maybe even occupational therapy. My son receives all the therapies. And if he were speaking, I would take him from mental health therapy. I speak with a therapist now, and it helps me, reprocess and reduce my shame or guilt or whatever I might be feeling emotionally, and kind of disentangles what I'm struggling with. But I hear you on, he receives so many therapies. And I think just by doing that and accepting the help, even though he isn't actively choosing it, I guess I technically am choosing for him. But I feel like people who are getting that are just more open to it, because they're accepting of help, and help is such a hard thing to ask for. And so where you talk about being vulnerable or a little bit more open to discussion, I think it's like the notion that you've opened yourself to that experience, that desire for community, that notion of connection. And so I honestly believe my son is better off for all of those things, and that's a really great place to start. So I hear you on, it does not surprise me you saying that neurodivergent people are a little bit more open to talking about topics like that. Because like for me, weather has always been like, oh, if you don't know what to talk about, sports teams, right? But I don't really care about either of those things. Hot take, I do care about wellness. I want to talk about the stock market. I want to talk about why the heck things are the way they are in just general society. I'm also really nervous about my son starting kindergarten for the first time. I want to talk about that, right? Like, I don't care about the weather. I don't care about, I mean, I do love the Buffalo Bills.
I was about to
I'll
say,
always want to
shame
talk
on
about
you.
the Buffalo Bills.
We talk about our Bills all the time. We love the Bills. But
my
no,
God, the NFL Combine is coming up, and I was like, I could go without the NFL for a little bit longer. Although I do love a Travis Kelce, even though he's not a Buffalo Bill.
I don't love that you said that, but
how do you okay, sorry. How do you feel about sports, Anika?
I don't think about them. That's how I feel about them.
There we go. but the wheel of wellness. Now that's a hot take. There we go.
I love that. I love that so much. One of my questions that I was going to ask is, I feel like I'm learning a lot, particularly on threads right now from neurodivergent people, about how there are certain things that people get wrong, right? They're like, oh, people think this, but really it's not true. So, what are 3 things everyone gets wrong about ADHD, or the impact of your diet and being neurodivergent? And how do you deliver this information without shaming others? I feel like you did such a wonderful job earlier with the nuanced pieces of, and I think you genuinely believe this, like consumed is best, like consuming your food is the best option as opposed to skipping meals. So I feel like you do that really well, but how do you do it with intent? Because it does seem very intentional, and it does seem very like second nature to you too.
Yeah, that is called overthinking.
Well, in the best of ways, because it helps so many.
But in other answer, it's also like my education, because I've been trained in nuance and how to communicate science. And so putting all of that together and like adding in lived experience as the years go on, I'm sure I'm going to get even better at it. But also recognizing that in the past, I probably haven't been, because we all change and we grow. I think at the beginning, I used to be more of like, hey, focus on these nutrients, and that's going to really help you. And now it's like, you know what? I just yeah, those are good nutrients to focus on, and that's what they're going to do for your brain. And I'm still going to talk about that. But if you just focus on that, you're missing the whole picture of how to help you.
Okay.
Because, like, it's going to cause you stress if you focus too much on the little things.
Right.
But we really love focusing on the little things.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
A lot. We love focusing on what we can take out because that feels small, but it feels easy. Even though it isn't easy, it just feels easy because our brains have a issue with knowing what is realistic and what's not. But then, like, the other small things, like getting supplements or something, that feels like a very small thing, feels super doable. Is it doing anything for us? That's the other question. So I think out of all the misinformation out there, a lot of misinformation comes from supplementation. The hard thing is that we just don't have a ton of research. So it's hard to know for sure if supplementation is helping, if it's placebo, if it isn't helping at all in general. Like, it's just hard to know. And so navigating that is hard because we have issues with eating. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so supplementation is a great way of trying to get those nutrients. However, when you look at a lot of research with absorption in supplements, we see that it tends not to do much of anything for a lot of them, which is not great because then you're wasting money. And so how do we navigate the whole making sure people feel good and like feel that they're doing something good for themselves and their health, but realistically, is it making it worse because now you're not having as much money in your wallet and it's not technically doing anything for you?
Gosh.
So,
yeah. No, I that speaks so deeply to me because so both my children have low iron or low ferritin, which is like the iron stores. And so they spoke to me about why it was bad, but not how it impacted sleep. And I've only recently learned about how much low iron impacts sleep, let alone your organs, but just sleep in general, and that the absorption increases with vitamin C and it decreases with calcium.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I felt so stupid. Real talk. There is this thing called Novaferrum, which iron just doesn't taste good in general. At least Novaferrum has a couple different taste options, but I would prefer it not taste at all, and like anything at all. But there's a chocolate one. Well, how the heck are you going to give chocolate in a liquid form unless you give it immediately? No. So I was mixing it with milk.
Right, that makes sense.
I was legitimately negating the benefits of the supplement I was trying to give for a very long time. Like, it was like I was just, sorry for the language, pissing money away. Because the Novaferrum is not cheap. And I had done this for at least 3 months before anyone spoke up and said, that is exactly not what to do. But now both of my children are getting it, and it's methylated iron, I guess, or carbonyl iron, and it's being given with vitamin C. So that is great. I love that. And supposedly it's tasteless. I don't think it is really tasteless, but
almost nothing is tasteless nowadays.
Like, for real. But I'm so grateful that someone said something, because here I'm thinking like, oh, like, yay me! I got him to take some iron. And
yay me!
Wow. Yeah. Consumed but not absorbed is in that scenario.
Yeah, and that's where I always love to, whenever possible, default to food, because the nutrients that are in the foods, they all, like, we've been evolved to absorb the foods from the nutrients from the foods and how the foods are. Like, so take, for example, salmon. It has iron in it. So obviously it doesn't have vitamin C in it, but it does have magnesium in it, and that helps absorb the iron just a little bit. But it also has tryptophan in it and tyrosine, which are amino acids that help create our neurotransmitters. Great stuff. And in it, they have vitamin B6, which helps improve how those proteins get changed into our transmitters. And so, like, really the foods that we eat contain all the nutrients at the right amounts to be best absorbed. Now, obviously, in like some of your cases, like Marissa, your kid doesn't eat a lot of food. So
yeah, right.
That's a whole nother ballpark.
For sure.
But yeah, that's where eating protein, eating fiber at the same time maximizes absorption.
Huh.
That's awesome.
So always
It
recommend
helps keep you regular.
do that. Also, yes, it keeps you regular, which is very important.
I feel like so this podcast started because my friend and I figured out that there was so much missing in education. And one of the things that I'm going back to in my mind is I feel like in high school or middle school, both elementary school too, people used to do like the food pyramid, like you'd learn about that in health class, but nobody does this, what you're doing. And I feel like if somebody said, here's why you should eat salmon, here are the vitamins, here's what it does to your body, I feel like people would eat more salmon.
Yeah. So I've actually found that only works for people with ADHD. It might work for ASD. I don't talk to people with ASD. But for people who, for some reason, people with ADHD, we just need to know the why. So that we can do the do.
In your research, have you noticed a difference in diet and the number of people diagnosed with ADHD, or maybe what you feel might be the best diet or for staples for people to get started related to thinking about their own diet?
Yeah. So let me create a concept out here for y'all. If you think about functioning, right? We have good days, we have hard days, we have really bad days, and then we have like amazing days where we're on top of everything because ADHD is dynamic, very fluid. We don't have a specific diet. It's more of a lifestyle of how to approach food with ADHD. And that's for basically almost every single person is in general. Like there's ways we can optimize things, but to start, I want people to figure out what is their level of functioning for the day that they're having. Because that is going to inform how you're even going to eat, if you're able to eat, etc. So for level 0, that is where maybe you don't have a lot of support systems out there right now, or maybe you just have extra mental health things going on and it's all compounding together. You just don't have a lot of energy or executive functioning. This is where it doesn't matter what you eat. It's just the goal is to eat consistently, because that is going to teach your body that you are in a state as much as you can of regulation. And so eating 3 times a day, ideally. If you have some snacks, I don't care. Throw some snacks in there too. But eating breakfast, eating lunch, eating dinner. Dinner could be some grapes. Lunch could be a bag of chips. Breakfast could be coffee and maybe a cheat stick. It doesn't matter like what you eat. It's just that you eat something 3 times a day. So that's the baseline that my goal is for everybody to work toward, no matter how life is going right now. Just eat 3 times a day. And then the next step after that is maybe you have a little bit more supports, right? Maybe today is a little bit better of a day. Now we can focus more on pairing protein and fiber in your meals. So what that could look like is you are still eating those 3 meals a day, but now you have, for breakfast, you can have a cheese stick and you can have some raisins and oatmeal or something. For lunch, you can have, if you like bagged salad, you can make some bagged salad for yourself, but that doesn't have protein, so we're going to add like some rotisserie chicken to it. Then for dinner, you can grab something out of the freezer, like I don't know. There's like some really good Trader Joe's gnocchi I love. Yes. So good.
We love Trader Joe's.
And then what can we add to make sure it has fiber and protein? We can just add some frozen chicken to it as well. Or you can add some like edamame to it. And well, edamame already has some fiber in it too. So there you go. Now you've had protein and fiber with every meal. So that's the second level. The third level is what I consider more high functioning. So if you have a lot of support systems in place where it's not hard, as hard as it could be, or maybe you are like in your follicular phase and you're like, yes, I have so much more energy right now. that's where you're going to focus on creating a balanced plate. And it's different than what we've been taught because, like, you know, research changes a lot. So the simple version is half of your plate is protein, half of your plate is the fibrous carbohydrates. So think fruits, nuts, seeds, grains, not a lot of grains usually I say, but beans, really anything that has fiber in it. So that's the simple version. But if you want the more complex version, a third of your plate is protein, and then half of your plate is fruits and vegetables. And then the last little bit is your resistant starches, which is your grains. So you can have a slice of toast or a little bit of rice. So that's what a lot of people tend to get wrong. We tend to have a lot of the grains and not a lot of the actual more nutritious fibers. So that is like almost the top. And then basically no one is going to be here. I'm not even here. I barely am here on the top level, which is level 4, and that is reducing. That's where you can start reducing your added sugar or reducing alcohol consumption. Or if you really want to reduce like food dyes, it statistically isn't going to do much for you, but you sure could if you want to. The biggest thing is reducing added sugar and getting to the dietary requirements of like 25 grams of added sugar per day and less, which is way easier when you're crowding out the sugar with those more fibers and proteins. So that is the general framework that I like to share with people. I know it was a lot of information, but
it was.
Well, I appreciate that you call out. Yeah, I appreciate that you call it the reducing and that it's specific to added sugars, because fruit I know is high in sugar. I mean, even carrots, which are a vegetable, are high in sugar, but those are natural, and so it's like there's a distinct difference. At the same time, I was thinking like, man, 25 grams of sugar. I probably have that in my breakfast.
Yep.
I'm probably already off the bat bad with breakfast. So
yeah, you said sugar. Or did you say added sugar?
Added sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any sugars from fruits don't count as sugars.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I mean, obviously they are sugars, but they contain a lot of nutrients and they contain a lot of fiber, which changes how your body uses them. If you do want to have added sugars, I usually ask people to gravitate toward maple syrup or honey. Ideally, we're even gravitating toward the aspartame or stevia because those don't affect our dopamine as much, which is great. And they also don't affect our gut microbiome. I know a lot of people say that they do, but that's not supported by evidence. So,
that's actually helpful to know. I mean, yes. The aspartame part more so because I struggle with drinking plain water, and so I use Crystal Light a lot, probably more than.
And hydration. I forgot to say that. Please be hydrated.
Yeah.
But so like level 0 with hydration is just getting any liquid in. I don't care what it is. Ideally, I do care if it's not alcohol, because alcohol is going to make your ADHD significantly worse. But coffee, sure. That has liquid in it. You want to just eat a ton of watermelon? Sure. Crystal Light, or even, sure, I don't care. My gosh, my words. Full sugar sodas. Like, I don't prefer people drink that because that can make your ADHD worse. Mm-hmm. But is it liquid? Are we in level 0? Okay.
I love that you have a level 0 because one of the things that I've found is different, and that this is just me saying from my experience with people with ASD and people with ADHD, or ASD people and ADHD people, is that for ADHD, people will eat the food you suggest. It's the fact that you get to the point of where you forget to eat or you don't eat. And that's different from autism, because with autism, it's preference based more so than initiating the actual eating. Is that accurate from your assessment too?
Honestly, I have no idea, because there's really no research out there on eating behaviors as much as I wish there was.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, one of the only studies that came out on eating behavior and ADHD was in 2025, and it was just on snacking behavior, and it just found that people with ADHD tend to snack more often, and it's not related to emotional state, which is pretty interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's not emotional, because you would think, like, for what I perceive as a common out of sight, out of mind. So if it's not something that is like right in front of you, then you might forget to do that. But snacking, wow, that seems a little bit more intentional, because it happens not at normal meal times, or maybe it's snacking during meal times. Who knows? But that's so interesting, and that it's not emotionally triggered, because I know there's the subconscious Pavlov dog thing where I sit down in front of the TV and I'm immediately craving a snack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there is that other difference too that we do have with behavior. People with ADHD, we just tend to have more binging behaviors.
Oh, okay.
Which is really hard to navigate, but a lot of it is connected with either you're not eating enough throughout the day, or the food that you're eating isn't nutritious enough for your body to be like, wow. So it's like asking for more nutrients, and then what's going to be easy? A bag of chips. But your body,
right.
like your brain isn't thinking, wow, it's just wanting nutrients.
Right.
So it thinks, well, that's easy nutrients, but it's not like actually helpful all the time.
Yeah.
And what tastes good? I'm sure your brain is also focused on like what tastes good. Is like that.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know, false dopamine or like instant dopamine, because man, I have brownies downstairs that I'm really looking forward to, and I know that I'm saying this to a nutritionist, and I'm like,
I have
man,
a bunch of cookie dough in my freezer that I've been eating the last few days, so I understand.
There you go.
I feel like there's a stigma when it comes to people in nutrition, where it's like people feel like nutritionists are the healthiest eaters and the people that like you don't want to like fully be honest and transparent with, because you feel like they won't be able to relate. But I love how relatable you are, Anika, and I love that you're like, there are days where I'm at 0 and there are days where I'm at 3, but I am not consistently at 4, and it's so helpful, because in all honesty, I don't know how people would function at 4 all the time.
Oh, it's like way too much executive functioning. Like if that's your only job
to think about. But that's just the way my brain works, right? Because there are people out there who function at a 4. I know for me, I personally can't. And for those people who can, who are out there listening, like mazel, because I like that takes, like you said, so much executive functioning, so much intentionality. I feel like
I want to know, do you have a cook for yourself?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Right, that's true.
What does your house look like? How wealthy are you? I feel like those are questions that need to be answered.
Seriously? Yeah. Like the money is what would make it easier.
Yeah. And I love to cook. So like I would do it every once in a while, but like to have that and the executive functioning that it takes just for cooking a meal, I think a lot of people aren't talking about that, like, yeah, I'm glad there are influencers out there who are talking about it now, who are like, seriously, I just wish that I was motivated enough to like eat mac and cheese, or didn't like hate every single second of doing it. And I think there are people out there where like making food is actually painful. Like not everybody enjoys that. Not everybody enjoys eating, because you talked about it too, Anika, like the relationships that people have with food. There's so many different types of relationships that you can have with food, and I'm sure that I don't even know them all, but it's complex.
So complex. And it's really giving yourself that understanding of where you are, but the other half of it is accepting that you are able to make changes too. But the changes can only happen when you feel safe. So understand like where is your safety or not safety coming from.
Change can only happen when you feel safe. You just broke the mold on all of change. Change in work, change in food. I mean, like, that's when people adopt change, is when they feel safe to do so. When they have all the information
It's the
that
same
they
with
know, their
learning.
structure.
You can't learn, you can't
But no
take
one
in.
said it to me like that.
Yeah.
Holy crow.
It's very
This is just,
accessible.
you're breaking my brain.
I love that.
Change can happen when you feel safe. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I talk about. Change can only happen like if you accept that something is wrong, but also you have to be safe in order to make actual changes.
Yep.
Wow.
That's going to be a quote we post from this episode.
Well, since we're talking about change,
Yeah.
if you could change the world to make things more inclusive, what would you choose to do?
Wow, that is actually a really good question. Change to make. Can I say mandate education?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's
Mandate
super general.
education?
Like, is there something specific?
Well, just like like making education accessible for people, but more higher education. Like, I know not everybody would be able to do so, but for those who can attend, you should go. Just like to get more understanding of other people besides your super small hometown. Learn how to understand the scientific method. Learn how to see different points of view. Yeah, I think that would change a lot.
When you talk about higher education, because this is really interesting that you're saying that. So, because a lot of what I talk about with high schoolers is like, you don't have to go to college. You can become a tradesman, and that is amazing. Like, and you go to school for that and you learn and things like that. But you specifically talked about higher education. What do you feel like people learn in higher education that is so valuable? P.S. Marissa and I have our master's in service leadership and innovation with a higher education administration concentration. And we both worked in higher education for a period of time. So we value it too. But I'm just curious where you were going with that.
I think it's really just you learn how to understand other perspectives because you're exposed more so to other perspectives. So maybe that's really the idea, getting people exposed to other perspectives. So that could even just be through a program where everybody gets to go to a different city for like an exchange, a high school exchange program or something like that.
Yeah.
That traveling we both did. Traveling abroad was immensely helpful for us. It definitely opened up our perspectives.
Yeah.
Especially being from the United States, where I feel like everybody understands that there isn't a lot of diversity here. So a lot people kind of chalk up, you don't have to go anywhere else. And they're very proud to be from the United States. I wonder how much pride has hit. Proud of being American has hit since this current administration. That said, I loved being able to go abroad and what it did for me. And it did make me happy to be an American, but I'm also like in love with certain things that other cultures have.
And, like history.
Yes. History. Siestas in the middle of the day.
Oh, culture.
Food.
Culture, yeah. Food.
Yes.
100%
art,
food.
Yeah. But like the appreciation and purpose is a lot different. Like it's not so capitalistic and grind, and being the busyness is not touted and celebrated in the same way it is here, and it gave me a lot of perspective. So I love what you said, and I'm glad that you and your husband had the chance to go abroad. Yeah, no, I wish that were accessible for more people, because I know that there is this element of privilege and wealth that comes, like not everybody can afford to go or will ever have that experience. So, like my own father has only been to Canada. Our parents are going to be traveling abroad for the first time now that they're retired, and that's very exciting for them.
Wow, that is so exciting for them.
But I mean, it took him such a long time before he sent his own children abroad before being able to do so himself.
Yeah.
So, okay, well,
which comes back to distribution of wealth.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Our father was very, very poor growing up. But I just wanted to say one more thing too, Annika, is you talked about, you hinted at small town. And I think that that's something too that in America we struggle with is sometimes when you live in an area, whether it's a small town or a big city or whatever, and you get, going back to your point, you get a mindset. And if it's the only exposure you get of that type of particular place, and you don't get others, Marissa, you talked about diversity, and yeah, there is quite a bit of diversity here because it's a nation of immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other piece too is that if you are just in one area and you are just experiencing the same thing over and over again, then you're not getting out there and getting the education. And Marissa and I talk about this a lot, but our mom worked in higher education for 40 years and we grew up on a college campus, and my mom ran the LGBTQIA plus program for a long time and club.
Yeah.
And so we on higher education campus grew up on these campuses or this
Oh my
campus,
goodness.
and we got to see people from all over the world, and we got to meet artists from all over the world because then she transitioned from housing into doing student events and stuff. And it was just really cool. So I think there is value in getting those different perspectives. And I think people do a really good job with it when kids are little, because kids are more susceptible to being open because they're not tainted by society yet. But I think there's a place for it in middle school, and I think there's a place for it in high school. And I think adult programs is something that really, it needs to be free, and people need to have the ability to access that. So just loved everything you said today. Cannot thank you enough for coming. We can't wait to have you back. Where can our listeners connect with you?
So the best place to connect with me is actually almost every single platform is NutriMind Lab or the NutriMind Lab. And that's where you find my content. But if you want to connect with me more personally, mentioned in the beginning, I do have a Patreon where you get a free ebook every single month. This month was on ADHD and hormones and the research for that. But you also get one-on-one DM access to me. But if that's not in your abilities, I also love community in general. So I have a Discord community too. And that is where you can just chit chat. I sometimes talk in there too, but that's where you can put questions in. I'll let you know when I'm going live. I share the content that I have across all of the platforms so that you don't miss anything, because I have a blog too. I do a lot, honestly. Maybe that is something I should think about. But those are the main places. But if there's if you want to just get the information, how do I apply this to my life? My bundle is the ADHD Nutrition Manual. That's in my store. Any of my links in my bio, you'll get there. And so that has how do you even develop interoception and understanding different nervous system regulation for ADHD. But then on top of that is what do you eat to help your ADHD? How do you eat it? Example menus, grocery planners. It's all together. So that is my main thing that I try to get out to people.
That's phenomenal. Oh, that's so
really
awesome.
Cool.
I'm so excited for our listeners to connect with you. And thank you so much. We really, truly can't wait to have you back again. And to our listeners, stay tuned for our next incredible guest. You won't want to miss them. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Everything is Learning. If you loved this episode, share it, subscribe to hear more awesome content, and let's keep the conversation going. Stay curious and keep learning. We'll catch you next time.